Good afternoon, everybody. How are we doing today? And I know it's not a lie. I wasn't your number one draft pick or your second or your third.
You were.
But, the speaking fee is real steep, a glass of water, so I'm glad to be here, brother. I thought you wanted me to come and talk about my deficit in scalloping this past season for the past month. Will and I have been going back and forth trying to share stories, trying to gather some scallops out in the bay, and we Dailies have not had any success. I hope you're having a little bit more success.
Only on the two.
Rocky, always great to see you, my man. Good to see you in church, and appreciate you continuously praying for me. And it is great to be back at NEBA. You know, I look around the room, we're all friends. We agree on some issues, we might disagree on other issues, but at the end of the day, we are all friends. I love coming to NEBA. I love the interaction, and it's great to see everybody. It's also just great to be back in person. I know that we all have missed the social interaction, missed the opportunity to be able to speak to each other, break bread with each other. So it is good to be back together with everybody. Will, what I'd like to do, because I do get a chance to speak quite frequently here at NEBA, what I'd like to do is provide some brief comments, not even 10 or 20 minutes.
Do it.
Really open it up and really then have the dialogue, answer the questions.
For you, man, so
Yeah.
you do what you want.
Right. But, I really want to hear from you. I want to hear your questions. I want to have hear the comments and go from there. So I'm going to give you a snapshot of where we are and where I think we're going, and then we'll open it up and we'll just have a conversation from there. I do want to acknowledge Ryan Ray, Commissioner Matlow's aide that's here. It's good to see you, Ryan. And anything that I'm not comfortable answering, I'm going to let Ryan answer on behalf of Commissioner Matlow.
And I saw Erwin was here, so I grabbed you a second.
Oh, I appreciate it. Is that vodka or is that water with Erwin asking the questions today? No, actually, I'm going to give Erwin the opportunity to ask the first question when we get there. We were talking about a couple things, and we'll go from there. But first and foremost, the city is on recess right now. Let's back up. So it's been 2.5 years I got elected mayor of the city of Tallahassee. And first of all, I'd like to start all my remarks by saying thank you. I love this job. I love our community. And I love serving as mayor. These are some extraordinary times. There are some very difficult issues that we're wrestling with as a city, as a community, as a society. But I really enjoy it. Look, there's been many mayors before me. There'll be many mayors after me. But at this point in my life, this is my calling. And I get up every day, and as cheesy as it sounds, I try to do the best job I can as your mayor to bring this community together and to move this community forward. And I'm going to continue to do that until the day that I am no longer mayor of the city of Tallahassee. In closing on the opening comments, let me thank you for the opportunity to serve as your mayor. You have a choice every election cycle. You have given me the opportunity to serve, and I don't want you to think that a day goes by that I take that for granted. Thank you for allowing me to serve as the mayor of the great city of Tallahassee. A couple of things that I want to touch base on, and then we're going to jump right into questions. And seriously, Erwin, if you don't mind starting us off with the questions with what we were just talking about, that'd be great. So first, let me go ahead and just touch on COVID, because we talk about this constantly. And it's become such a politicized issue, okay? On the national level, the global level, on the state level. Everybody's divided into sides. Everybody, we need to do this, we don't need to do that. And whether you agree or you disagree with my personal position, and you can ask any questions that you want in regards to it, let me at least tell you how I come to the conclusions that I do in my thought pattern. I don't necessarily pay attention to the state pundits or the politicians or the federal pundits and the politicians from either side. I listen to our local doctors, our families, our friends, our neighbors that live here in Tallahassee. I talk to Alan over at Capital Regional Medical Center probably every day. I talk to Mark O'Brien and his team probably every day, if not several times a week. We stay in touch with the Public Health Department specifically about Tallahassee. What do you as doctors, what do you as epidemiologists see what's going on here in our local community? And quite frankly, what are your recommendations for our community? And we laid some ground rules at the very beginning last year. And I told Mark and I told Alan, I said, look, on behalf of the medical community along with the health department, if you're making recommendations, they need to be firm recommendations. And what I mean by firm recommendations is when the city and the county stand at a podium with a press conference making major announcements, you need to be feeling comfortable enough with your recommendations that you're going to stand right there next to us. That was a great way to start the relationship with the medical community, and I think it has served us well until then. So there's a lot going on at the county right now, a lot of discussion going on at the school board right now. At the city, what you need to remember is that whether we want to do anything or not, the governor of the state of Florida has preempted local government's abilities for mask mandates, okay? And until the governor changes his mind, or if it's challenged in courts and overturned, which I have not heard that it is being done, we are not going to have a countywide mask mandate. We cannot do it. It's been preempted. Some of you might agree with the governor's position. Some of you might disagree with the governor's position. The bottom line is that is where we are today. So at the city level, what are we doing? My personal decision is that, yes, I have been vaccinated, and I highly encourage everyone, if you have not been vaccinated, to get vaccinated. I do wear a mask when I'm out in larger gatherings with people, especially people that I'm not familiar with, because I have a high exposure rate. In the Dailey family, my wife, Jenny, has been vaccinated. My oldest son, Tommy, who is 12, has been vaccinated. But my youngest son, Henry, who is 10, has not been vaccinated because he's not old enough to be. I wear my mask because even though I might not get sick because I have been vaccinated, I certainly do not want to bring it home to my 10-year-old. That is a personal decision. When I am out in public, I try to play by the social distancing rules as much as we possibly can. The bottom line is I try to be smart and set an example as your mayor with my personal decisions and my family decisions. I am asking everyone to do the same. Again, as your mayor and as your friend, I am encouraging everyone to get a vaccination. I am encouraging you in certain situations when you don't feel comfortable to please wear your masks, okay? At the city, we are bringing masks back for our workforce to keep us safe. We are going to probably be wearing masks at the next city commission meeting to keep us safe because of the high volume of traffic coming and going. But I want to encourage you to please, number one, from the words of the medical community, and I quote, "This is serious." This is the largest surge that we have seen in Tallahassee. The doctors, the administrators, and the health department all agree unanimously that we have to take this seriously. The hospitalizations that are dealing with COVID are the ages of 30, 40, and 50-year-olds. We all have friends that have been affected one way or the other. We have family that's been affected one way or the other. I am asking you, I am pleading with you, as a community, be safe, be smart, and I am personally asking you all to please get your vaccination if you have not had yours yet. I know we might have some questions about the COVID situation, and I look forward to entertaining those as we move forward. So Tallahassee is on the move right now. We've got a lot of great things that are going on. 3 years ago, when I was on the campaign trail, I stood right here at this exact same podium. One of the things that I campaigned on was the lack of a strategic plan providing a vision for your city moving forward. Traditionally, the way how we operated was really on a year-to-year basis. We had the continuity of services from year to year, but the big picture items was kind of a year-to-year. We'd get together as a city at our annual retreat, we would make our priorities, and then we'd work on them for a year, and then the next year come up with new priorities. I campaigned that we needed a true vision. We needed a strategic plan, a 5-year strategic plan, so we could take some of these big, bold issues that we're dealing with and truly focus on them to move this community forward. And it's paying off in dividends. In particular, let's talk about the business and the private investment in Tallahassee. If you look at what's been going on for the past 2.5 years alone with private investment in Tallahassee, I would put it up against the last 10 years in the city of Tallahassee to be able to show you the success that we've had. Number one, if you look at the expansion of Danfoss Turbocore, which we always talk about Turbocore because we landed them over a decade ago, it was big. This latest expansion, though, was also huge for our community. It was a $48 million investment in Tallahassee, which resulted in an additional 586 jobs here in our community. If you think about the expansion at Capital Regional Medical Center, That was a $23 million investment in our community, which is going to result in an additional 50 jobs right here in our community. If you think about Project Mango, and if that comes to full fruition, that's a $250 million investment right here in the capital city community, creating over 1,000 jobs, desperately needed jobs, right here in Tallahassee. If you think about the Valencia Hotel Group, and I know that Erwin's got the question that will lead off about that particular group and how that came to fruition, that alone is going to be a $150 million investment in downtown Tallahassee, creating over 250 jobs. Think about what's going on at Cascades Park, the AC Marriott. That was a $160 million investment in downtown Tallahassee, and they're about to cut the ribbon on phase 2 and begin phase 2. Folks, we have the fastest growing economy per capita of any municipality in the state of Florida. We have private investment not only by businesses that are currently located here, but we're now on the map. We've got outside businesses that want to come to Tallahassee, invest in our community, and be here. I've worked really hard for the past 2.5 years, mending our relationships with Enterprise Florida, DEO, the governor's office, and we are now at a point that when the state starts getting calls nationally and internationally about locating in Florida, where are those communities that we should be looking at? One of the first communities they're mentioning is Tallahassee. Our strategic vision is paying off. And with everything else that's going on right now, we've set a very big, bold, audacious goal in Tallahassee, which is part of our strategic vision, which is to create 10,000 new jobs in 4 years. And if we stay on the pace that we are on right now, we are going to hit our mark. We sit around and we talk all the time about how we've got the best higher education system collectively in the United States. Think about this. Florida State University, Research One University, ranked number 17 of public universities in the nation. FAMU, the number 1 HBCU in the nation. Tallahassee Community College, the number 1 community college for Associate of Arts degrees in the nation, right here in our backyard. But it seems that we always continuously have this conversation about graduating talent and they leave our community. The answer is to provide the jobs here. And I'm proud to say that that is a priority, it is a focus, and we're starting to see the results. Now, we are on recess right now. In the budget process, the way how it works is that we start our budget process back in the spring. We go through several workshops putting our budget together. Come to the beginning of July, we have a proposed budget that goes to the public. This is where we are right now. If you are interested, I hope you are taking the opportunity to go to our website, look at our proposed budget, provide comment on the proposed budget, because at the end of the day, it's all of our tax dollars that fund the proposed budget. We will come back from recess. We will have a series of public hearings, which gives everybody the opportunity to speak formally on the proposed budget. Our fiscal year ends at the end of September, on September 30th, and by law, we are required to pass a balanced budget. So right now, we have a proposed budget before you. Out of everything that we do, believe it or not, we are only required to do one thing by law, and that is to pass a balanced budget on the municipal level. I am proud of the budget that we have before you today that you're looking for comment. A few of the highlights. Number 1, we are maintaining the millage rate at 4.1 again. Now, by state legislative definition, yes, your taxes may go up if your property values go up. I'm not going to have that fight with anybody. That is a definition that was set by the state legislature. That is what it is. But your millage rate is not going to go up. One of the questions that we always get is, well, why don't you go to the rollback rate? The rollback rate would be setting the millage rate at a particular mill that generates the same amount of money as we did last year. My immediate answer to that is, yes, while our taxes go up, so do the cost of doing business. The cost of commodities and construction, as you all very well know, is a very volatile market right now. If we are going to stay on track with our community goals that we have set, say our projects through Blueprint, or city or county, the cost of construction has gone up. We are maintaining the millage rate at 4.1. As a result, we will have an overall budget of $1.03 billion. That is a huge responsibility that you have given to 5 elected officials representing 200,000 citizens inside the city limits. Let me also be the first to remind you that that 4.1 millage rate is the lowest millage rate out of the 25 most populous cities in the state of Florida. We have worked really hard to get to where we are. Out of that budget, $759 million represents the operating budget of the city of Tallahassee. These are your quality of life issues. This is water, sewer, roads, first responders, airport. $273 million represents the capital budget. This is our construction moving forward. And again, together it represents $1.03 million. One other thing to highlight, we are giving our employees a raise this year. We did not give raises last year. We worked long and hard on the structure. We are concentrating the raise scale on the lower end of the pay of the municipal workforce. So for instance, you've got great men and women out there that have been working really hard that make a living wage, but they might be making $35,000 or $40,000 or $45,000. Think of your Star Metro bus drivers that during COVID still ran the bus system. Yes, I do stand behind with my colleagues that they do deserve some type of a raise. And so we have structured to make sure that we are rewarding those on the lower end of the pay scale the most, and then gradually working our way up. And we're doing it while maintaining the millage rate at 4.1, just like last year. We also have a lot of great things that are going on. As you know, we were just named the #1 public utility in the nation once again. This is something that we should all be very proud of. We've got a great utility department. Our electric utility is second to none. Did you know that we generate more solar electricity per capita than any other municipality in the United States except for Honolulu? And I am sure that Ryan will volunteer to fly to Honolulu to figure out what they're doing right and what we can do better to surpass them. But I'm very proud of that. Folks, we have the largest solar field located at a municipal airport in the world. And it was just awarded a national award as well for its environmental sensitivity and how it plays into the airport itself. Our airport was named the #1 municipal airport in the state of Florida. Our airport executive director is the #1 executive director in the southeastern United States. This is very important, seeing how the airport and the potential economic development that we could have out there plays into our local economy and plays into our municipal services. We've got the right team. We've got an award-winning team. Your city was just named a LEED certified city for our environmental stewardship. We're doing a lot of great things. And one of the things that I don't think we do a good enough job at the city is tooting our own horn and letting the citizens know that we are nationally recognized. We do have other communities that look to Tallahassee at how we conduct our business to see what they can do to be better. Now, in closing, I'd like to say, in society in general, it seems that, we're dealing with negative politics all the time. Everybody's after everybody. It's always bad, whether it's on the national level, the state level, the local level. We've got major challenges, and not for a second do I want you to think that I'm just brushing over the challenges, and I'm sure they're going to come up during the questions. We are very well aware of the work that needs to be done, and there is a lot of work that needs to be done. And a lot of these issues are not like, okay, we reached the goal, we're done. It doesn't work that way. At the same time, we've got a lot of amazing people, brothers, sisters, spouses, friends, neighbors, leaders in this community that each and every day go out and work as hard as they can in an extraordinary manner to make Tallahassee the incredible city that we have all come to love. I think that we should also recognize and celebrate these individuals. I'm going to be the first to tell you that when I walk out of here, I'm going straight to hold a press conference at 1:30 this afternoon where I am going to be announcing the new Tallahassee Awards. I want you to think about so that we as a community can celebrate amazing individuals. And I want you to nominate someone that you think should be recognized here for the amazing work that they do in Tallahassee. We're going to be accepting applications all through the month of August. And then we are going to have a great ceremony, and we're going to recognize some amazing leaders, concentrate on the good while we're working on our challenges to move this city forward. With that, Will, Mr. Beavis, thank you so much for having me here today. I appreciate it. And what I'd love to do now is go straight to Erwin. Let's open it up. Let's have a dialogue. You can ask me anything and everything that you would possibly want. But thank you for having me here. Thank you.
I'm honored to be first. Very few people want me to speak at all, let alone be first to speak, so I appreciate that.
Correct.
I'm concerned about no bid contracts. I was concerned about them when John Marks, years ago,
Sure.
gave a no bid contract to Honeywell. There's some very valuable property downtown that my understanding an arrangement was made between somebody in the city, no bid contract, and I think it's important that you share with us what's behind that.
Sure.
So that'd be helpful, number one. Number two, we heard a testimony by Gary Orton a few days ago, under oath, in a courtroom. He admitted that he conspired with two other individuals, Scott and Page, to defraud some local businesses. Now, one of them happened to be an FBI agent, which was their problem. What happens now to Gary Orton? I want to make sure, and if you would get your support, to make sure that he is unable to get any city contracts in the future. And the same question I have for the county, same question I'd like to see him out of the Chamber of Commerce. I want his contract cut
Sure.
with WCTV, and I want his contract with Tallahassee Democrat terminated.
Right.
So thank you for the opportunity.
Sure. And not that it was a setup. Erwin and I have been talking about these issues. And by the way, Erwin, I do appreciate your friendship. And over the years, I enjoy spending time with you and your staff and talking about these type of issues. And I know you spend a lot of time with all the elected officials, and we do appreciate that. So let me answer the second question first, and then we'll come back to the Hotel Valencia group question that was asked. Yes. So as I told you earlier, you're not going to see your city make a move in any direction while you still have a federal trial that's going on. It is not appropriate. We need to wait till the end. But yes, I am sure that you can understand that we are all sitting back. We are all taking notes on how we can be better, how we can improve, how we can put in new policy. I thought there was a great article the other day on my colleague, Commissioner Porter, how she's attending the trial so that she can learn facts and figure out what happened so that she can also, as a commissioner, make decisions on what works and what doesn't and what should be in place and what shouldn't. I think we're all doing our own personal assessment. I can tell you formally that the city attorney, that the city manager, that the auditor, and the treasurer clerk, that they are all in tune and that they know that we are all going to be interested in having a very detailed conversations on what's going on in this community and how we can move forward. Look, public corruption is something that we take very seriously. Again, 3 years ago, I stood before you at this podium, and one of the first things that I announced and I campaigned hard on was an ethics reform package. And one of the first things that we did as a new city commission was to pass the strongest ethics reform package in the 198-year history of the city of Tallahassee, and the strongest ethics reform package of any municipal government in the state of Florida. That is something that I am very proud of. This is one of these issues where you don't just say, we're done. No, we need to continuously work. We need to continuously evaluate. Part of our evaluation process will be this federal process that's going on right now. It's important to wait for that process to end to see how all the cards fall. and to make our judgments and to make our decisions moving forward. But we hear you loud and clear. That's probably not the exact answer that you were looking for, but at least you have an understanding, and we've had this conversation before about how to move forward. The Valencia Hotel Group, anybody familiar with the Valencia Hotel Group? They're out of Texas. They are a great 4-star property. They have been looking in the Tallahassee area since before I became mayor, and they have always been looking to break into the Florida market and the Tallahassee market. So the site in particular that we're talking about is the Johns Building site. The Johns Building used to be a state building. The state has, I'm giving you the complete history, folks. The state has a process. When they have a facility that they are no longer using, by state law, I believe it's the school districts that have first crack, I believe it's the city that has second crack, and then it's the county that has third crack. Now, if you recall, many, many years ago, the city and the county went in together to acquire the Johns Building, because at the time, the idea was, if the fundraising panned out, that would have been the site of a performing arts center. The building either needed to be rehabilitated or torn down. It was, I believe, cheaper to tear it down. That's why for many years, what is referred to as the Johns Building site is just a blank pad. Now, instead of just leaving a blank pad, before we were elected, the city put out the sand volleyball courts. The city allows the food trucks to come and set up, and it's been nice, it really has. But in my opinion, that is not the highest and best use for 2 square blocks in the urban core of downtown Tallahassee, which brings us to where we are. The city received an unsolicited bid from the Valencia Hotel Group, proposed to build a 4-star resort hotel in Tallahassee, in downtown Tallahassee. It does not, they do not have a property in Tallahassee, and in fact, in Tallahassee, we do not have a 4-star hotel property in Tallahassee. Staff received the bid. By law, once you receive an unsolicited bid, it becomes part of the record. So staff is determining what to do with it. They decided to bring an unsolicited bid to the city commission for a full discussion to see what direction we wanted to go with it in the public, in the sunshine, publicly advertised and discussed. We did have people that wrote in favor of it. We did have people come and speak on behalf of it in favor of it. The unsolicited bid that was proposed does not require a single penny of subsidy. They're not asking for anything from the city or the county government. They put in a bid to buy the property at $8 million, which is $200,000 above the appraised value. And the negotiated contract that will stand is they have to build exactly what they promised they will build, or the deal is off the table. We had the discussion. We sat down and figured out, is this where we want to move forward with it or not? I enthusiastically support it. 2 of my colleagues supported it. It passed on a 3-2 vote. Now, to Commissioner Matlow's point bringing it up, absolutely we should be concerned with unsolicited bids. Absolutely we should look at our policy. We should also ask questions: when were the policies written? How were they written? Do policies need to be updated? And in the case when you have something that flies in the face of policy, I will always side with staff to air and have discussions open in the public with everybody at the table involved in that discussion. Now, you referenced a few other particular items that happened well before we were elected to the city commission, and I speak for all my colleagues. I don't know the ins and outs of all of those deals. But I can tell you that faced with a decision that does not go straight with what our policy was, they decided to bring it to air it in the public. Ironically, at that night, 4 items later, there was another item that flew in the face of policy. That item, too, passed unanimously. So I do think we got to be careful picking and choosing, just because we might be on the losing side of an issue, of whether we're going to say, oh, this doesn't look right, but I'm going to vote against policy on this one. We should have a conversation and continuously look at our policy, make sure our policies are up to date. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the Hotel Valencia Group, I think this is going to be an amazing addition to downtown Tallahassee. I think it is a needed addition to downtown Tallahassee. I think we will definitely benefit from the tax benefits of it because it's going back on the private rolls. And so it is appropriate, and we're going to move forward with it. And again, I hope that somewhat answered your question, Erwin. I don't know if I hit it on the head or not. And look, I don't think, and even Commissioner Matlow, to his credit, in the television interview he did yesterday, even said himself, he doesn't think there was anything nefarious going on. He doesn't think that there was any backroom deals going on. He just didn't like the fact that our policy said something and a majority of the commission went in a different direction. Okay, so maybe we should also have conversations about our policies to make sure they're up to date. You know, if you have a policy, and I don't know exactly when it was written, but let's say it was written 10 years ago, does it still apply? Or do we need to make sure that we can do business, do it right, do it in the public, do it in the sunshine, but we need to make sure that we're operating as a 21st century city.
All right, thanks. Couple more, I'm gonna take a question from the board here, but
Sure.
I'm gonna follow up on your strategic plan for the 10,000 jobs. The past few months, you can't ride down any street in Tallahassee, you can't see a billboard, you can't see an ad where someone is not hiring.
Right.
Attracting new businesses to Tallahassee is a great thought, a great idea. Look, we're a business advocacy committee, we're all about it. However, I find it hard that businesses are gonna say, hey, look, let's go there, they got a great workforce, when every single business that is here is hiring, and we cannot get the local population to take on a lot of these jobs. They just go unapplied. So what is the city doing to try to pair that, to try to do job fairs, to encourage some of this and pair these people with the businesses out here hiring? Because if you do a show of hands, I guarantee you everybody knows somebody or everybody's hiring.
Everybody's hiring. No, and you're absolutely correct, Will. And it's, you know, while we move forward to grow our local economy and be attractive for investment, of course, first and foremost, we need to support our local businesses and support those that are here. Now, I do think that, and I'm not just saying this because his parents are sitting here, I do think that Rocky through Lively is doing a tremendous job with our trades. I do think that TCC is doing an amazing job with their trades program. But sure, there is a lot more that we can do. And we are partnering up in many different respects to push that. Look, you can walk into Lively right now, and if you can dedicate a year of your life to the welding program, tuition is, I believe, somewhere between $6,000 and $7,000. It's 100% job placement in Tallahassee with a starting salary of about, what, $50,000, $55,000. Not everybody wants to go to college. I think we need to do a better job making sure that we promote this. Carpentry in this town, off the charts. Nursing, folks, we've got a serious nursing shortage. They're in high demand. So we need to do a better job as the governments, working in partnership with the school board, working in partnership with TCC, and also with the university systems to promote educational opportunities that also properly train people for a lot of the jobs that are out there that need that necessary training in behind. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I'd just like to, see it go, because you can't walk to a business in the last 6 months that doesn't have that now hiring placard.
Well, I also think, and I'm not an expert in this, I also think that there will be a market correction in society. I mean, we've had COVID, we've had the federal benefits, everybody has their own, Peggy will come in just a second, I got it. We'll come, lost my train of thought. There's different arguments about why the workforce is what it is with the federal benefits and everything. I do think that all of that will correct itself. Yeah. We'll see more people. Matter of fact, the jobs report just came out. I saw it on Steve Stewart's report yesterday that we do have more people entering the workforce here. But make no doubt about it, yes, there are a lot of opportunities that we need to fill. And of course, we should do everything that we possibly can to help those institutions that are in charge of the training to make sure that they fill. Can we come to?
Sure.
Peggy's been waiting patiently.
Part of that.
Sure.
He's been waiting.
We'll come right back.
First off, yes, Jeff Griggs.
Hey, Jeff.
I want to say I like having somebody toot their horn about Tallahassee. I love Tallahassee. I moved here back when the Indians were here, and I love living in this town.
Yeah.
And so that's great. And I want to tell y'all that I texted him what situation he helped connect me to the right people, so that was good on your part.
Thank
That
you.
said, do we have any influence on these federal dollars coming in? I applied to Leon Cares for a situation with a company, and they said, we just missed the deadline next year. Then I go to reapply, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, if you own a business or you own a home, there's no Leon Cares money out there. And several leaders are saying, oh, there is, and they found out, oh, there's not any money if you own a business or you own a home. Do we have any say over that?
Yes and no. I mean, part of it is lobbying the federal government to make sure that the rules and regulations that are put in place. Yes, local governments receive the money, and we decide how that money is dispersed, and we create the programs like Leon Cares. Not directly when you have federal language tied to that money on how it can be dispersed, unless you have the appropriate influence through Congress and the administration to be able to get the right language in the advance. It is the cumbersome process of creating legislation. So while the money comes to the local level for disbursement, many times it has, the language associated with it as it comes down on specifically how it can be spent or dispersed. Now, I'll be more than happy, we'll talk afterwards. I'll be more than happy to help take another look to see. But yeah, it's a catch-22, because it's not like, here's the check, go have fun. No, it's, here are the federal dollars, and oh, by the way, these are your guidelines on how you disperse.
All right, great.
Peggy, you've been waiting patiently.
My question is about Mango, because you didn't really answer what my concern is.
Okay.
I own one of the businesses that, even though we are paying very good starting wages and have health and retirement benefits, we're having a hard time hiring. So what kind of competition can we expect from Mango? Do you have any idea what kind of salaries they're going to be offering?
I don't have direct knowledge on specific salaries at all of the different levels of employment at Project Mango. I have heard that I believe the entry starting salary will be $15 an hour.
All right.
Good question.
An issue that you haven't really hit on yet that's important to everybody in Tallahassee, and that's the crime rate.
Sure.
Tallahassee crime. It seems like every day we're waking up to a new stabbing, a shooting, or a violent crime of some nature or some manner. But with that being said, it's hard to lay your finger on one situation or one reason for the crime. However, give us your opinion on the matter. And the second part of the question is in June, the president called for cities across the country to use some of this COVID stimulus money to hire more police officers. What is the city of Tallahassee's stance on that, and how are y'all taking that and moving that forward and
Sure.
as possible?
So like many communities across the country, our violent crime was not created overnight, nor are we going to solve it overnight. This has been, some can argue, generations in the making, and that's a whole nother separate conversation, or at least several years in the making. Nonetheless, we are not without our high crime, and we need to continuously work as hard as we possibly can. Let me be very clear. I have the utmost respect and admiration for every member of law enforcement that's got one of the toughest jobs in the world in today's society, which is keeping us safe. Everybody with the police department, the sheriff's department, the campus police departments, state level, federal level law enforcement, our firefighters, our paramedics. And yes, we're gonna have to think creatively outside the box to attack violent crime in our community. If you've been watching the crime wave across the United States, all communities are dealing with violent crime. Now, having said that, if you look at the recent statistics, violent crime is actually on a downward trend. Now, we do hear about the shootings, we do hear about the stabbings, and they are accurately reported in the paper. Chief Revel is doing an amazing job working with the Sheriff's Department, helping to continue to build trust to get in. We are starting in the middle schools, working with the school district, trying to teach our kids not to solve their differences with weapons. It is amazing and astonishing when you look at the statistics associated with violent crimes in our community, how young some of these both victims and perpetrators, if you will, are. We have to do a better job as society providing role models, helping, providing opportunities, so that they don't feel like the only thing that they have left is using violent crime as a means to an end. We're not going to police our way out of this. There are so many different aspects. So what are some of the highlights? Well, I would put the Tempo program up there first and foremost. The city's Tempo program is a program where we go out and aggressively recruit the most at-risk youth in our community. We bring them in. A lot of them are high school dropouts. We give them a paid internship. We teach them trades. We give them exposures. You as the business community have been absolutely phenomenal employing our students in Tempo while they're working on their GED. Folks, we have had half, 50% of our participants had some type of run-in with law enforcement upon entering our program. We just graduated our 1,000th participant from the program, and we have had 0 recidivism. Let me repeat that. Half of the students coming in have had some type of brush with law enforcement or the criminal justice system, 0 recidivism. And they are now in school, maybe in trades, maybe in college. They're working. The program works. It is a nationally recognized program. We are moving forward. We have to think outside the box on how we are going to deal with crime. That is one particular example that I can give you.
Something else that goes along with that, and this will go back to the audience, but another problem that is not just spurred overnight is homeless.
Yes.
We've had a lot of businesses, talk about it. We had Downtown Improvement Authority. We've had businesses here. Rocky had a funeral crash downtown. The issue is real. The issue is growing. It's been speculated and said that many of these are being sent from out-of-town areas to Tallahassee due to the different centers and handouts and opportunities here for them. A handout is one thing, helping is another. What is the city's long-term plan on this issue? Because it is a growing trend, and it's going to continue to get larger and larger and larger.
Sure. So when we look at the homeless population and those that are experiencing homelessness in our community, all of the electeds, both city and county, we have all had the same questions. And this is one of the issues that the 12 of us stand pretty firm and side by side on, that we have to do better and that we can do better. So a couple of the questions, and let me give you some answers as I understand them. Yes, I've heard the same rumors that, people are sending their people to Tallahassee. So what I want you to remember is that the city as a government and the county as a government, we do not run the homeless shelters or homeless services. That is not a department of the city or the county. In the way how it works is you have what's called the Big Bend Continuum of Care, which is federally recognized, that draws down HUD dollars specifically for low-income housing and for those that are experiencing homelessness. The Big Bend Continuum of Care represents every nonprofit, faith-based organization in our community that deals in this space, dealing with low-income housing and dealing with homelessness. The Big Bend Continuum of Care does not represent just Leon County. It represents, I believe, an 8 or 11 county area, Ryan?
I think it's 11.
11 county area. When we hear of people coming to our community from other communities, it's not so much, say, Atlanta or Orlando. What we have is Jackson County, Gadsden County, Jefferson County, Wakulla County. Because in the continuum of 11 counties, outside of Leon County, how many homeless shelters are there? 0. Outside of Leon County, how many other services are being provided for those that are experiencing homelessness? None that I'm aware of. So it's not like we've built the Taj Mahal and that everybody's coming to Tallahassee because of these services. It's because our partner communities around are not providing the services under the Big Bend Continuum of Care. This is an initiative that I'm working on with my colleagues, the mayors of other municipalities over in Gadsden County and Jackson and in the Big Bend area. And the county commissioners will be working with their colleagues on the county commission, to send the message of we cannot bear the burden for everyone in the Big Bend region. We need to work together. Now, at the same time, we have a dire shortage of housing. We have a dire shortage of housing from the most expensive houses in our community all the way down to low-income housing. Every price point, we have a shortage in our community. We need more housing. But in particular, we need more low-income housing. So it's the continuum of someone who is experiencing homelessness, okay? First and foremost, can we reunite them with a family member or with their family? You would be surprised at how many times we might find a gentleman on the street and son or daughter has no idea that dad is homeless. First thing we try to do as a government and as a community is reunite families, wherever they may be, okay? Number two is sheltering. So when we talk about sheltering, it's in phases. Your emergency shelter would be the Kearney Center. The Kearney Center is not designed for people to live there extensively. An emergency shelter is supposed to be, I believe, up to 2 months at max. From there, there's the next step of sheltering, which is between 6 months and a year. From there, it moves to the next step, and a great example is the dwellings, our tiny house nation, if you will. And by the way, if you've never been out to visit it, it's absolutely amazing. Rick Kearney did a tremendous job with the dwellings. Theoretically, we are supposed to take someone who is homeless and help them move through the system, at the same time help them be able to find jobs so that they can begin paying their rent, with the ultimate goal that they live on their own in their own housing. But we've got to have housing stock to do so. So one of the things that the city's gotten creative with is how do we create more affordable housing and low-income housing? A prime example is we've had a couple of property owners, some of the old motels in town. One in particular is the old property on the corner of Capitol Circle and Appalachia Parkway, heading out of town, where they came to us and said, hey, we'd love to turn that into condos and make it market rate affordable. That's a great idea. So overnight, through our policy decision that passed 5-0, we were able to add 60 units on the market after they're going to be able to rehabilitate it. Winewood Office Complex. Gentleman came to us and said, I'd love to turn that into market rate affordable housing. Overnight, we were able to provide 420 units on the market. It's going to take some creative thinking along with straight out building so that we can provide housing, so that we can complete this cycle of those that are experiencing homelessness, making sure that physical health, mental health is taken care of, help them find jobs, if not reunite with families, help them find temporary emergency shelter, permanent shelter to get them back on their feet. This is also an issue that has not, COVID did us no help, absolutely. You know, we've had struggles with dealing with the homeless issue during the global pandemic. But we have dedicated more funds through our federal money that has come down, an additional $3.5 million specifically for housing. Housing is a priority for the city of Tallahassee, and we have got a roadmap to head out. The Big Bend Continuum of Care has completely restructured their strategic plan. They came and presented to a joint workshop of the city and the county. We all have buy-in, we're all on the same page, and we're all heading in the right direction.
Awesome. Let's do one more quick question. And,
Two more real quick questions, sorry.
Two more quick.
Because I get one and then Hugh gets one. All right.
Really.
My questions really are quick. One of them is, where did you get your stats on the violent crime on the decline? The second one is, do you support the lobbying reform ordinances as proposed by the ethics board?
Quickly.
My stats come from the sheriff's office, so I'd encourage you for more detail to contact Sheriff Walt McNeil. What was the second question, Catherine? I'm sorry.
Sorry. Do you support the lobbying ordinances proposed by the ethics board?
Still taking it under review. Not going to give you a yes or no yet.
Okay, two personal interest questions here.
Hey, Hugh.
One, is your office or the city commission planning now or thinking of a way to honor Bobby Bowden by renaming a street, a city building, a park or something while we have Bobby now or anyway, that's a personal interest. And then will we be seeing you at Amelia Island in a few weeks?
Yes, you will see me at Amelia Island. I will be there to support our local business community. That is part of my job as mayor. Yes, I am sure that Coach Bowden will be honored in the appropriate time, in the appropriate fashion.
If you want to take one more really quick one, no? All right, go ahead, boss man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good job, John. I do have the last question,
Yes, sir.
and it's going to depend, your answer is going to depend on whether I vote for your sorry butt again. Did you have anything to do with those damn speed bumps on Live Oak Plantation Road?
Can I answer?
Please. And at least one vote depends on it.
Right. No, this is because I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting for this. So I live on Live Oak Plantation Road, and we had speed bumps that were just put in 2 days ago. And so the speeding on Live Oak has been an issue for decades. I mean, I can remember when I was a kid and probably drove a little too fast down Live Oak Plantation Road. So the answer to your question is no, I did not. Some of my neighbors wanted to get creative and think about traffic calming measures on Live Oak Plantation Road. This process actually started before I got elected mayor. This process had been going on for 4 years with the neighborhood. They organized and they followed the policy to the T. The policy states that you have to bring your neighborhood together, you have to organize, and that a supermajority of the residents on your road that have property, just in case anybody else is thinking about this, anybody else that has property on Live Oak or your road has to sign off on it. Now, I am proud to say that 84 property owners, or 84% of the property owners, there was only 3 property owners that voted against it. It was wildly accepted by the property owners. Everybody was very much in favor of it. I purposefully stayed out of it once I got elected, knowing that this would be an issue at some point. But nonetheless, I'm actually real proud of my neighbors. I mean, that's tough work to follow the process. It took them 4 years. They went door by door to get the signatures. They got the signatures. They hosted, not me, community meetings to have the city come out and talk about the different options, and here we are. So slow down, Rocky, and just enjoy the drive.